Howdy, kids. Well, it looks like no more XANAX for Steve, for good or for ill, because no more scripts, I should say, because Dr. Wacky Pants found out what I was doing, and I'm not exactly sure how they found out about it so fast, but we have our friends here, the computer and the internet, and everything being connected like that has its disadvantages. But my idea was to get uh, one last large script, at least one last large script of XANAX off of Dr. Wacky Pants, and I went to this community mental health outreach type place, and the guy that actually prescribed this, which is 120 10 milligram pills of Valium, is a psychiatric nurse. So I figure like one guy is like a doctor hooked up with a major hospital chain. The other one is at a community mental health outreach facility that can write scripts. So I figured like maybe they wouldn't figure it out. And seeing as how my doctor is not particularly attentive all the time, to the point where he asked me once, let's talk about your Ativan. And I'm like, I don't take Ativan. He got the name wrong to what I was taking. You know, he thought I was taking Ativan. I said, I take Alprazolam. He looked at his chart and he goes, oh, okay. And then another time he was like, so pain management is handling your Alprazolam now, right? And I'm like, no, you are. You know, so he's a very alarming gentleman, but apparently he was maybe they have red flags or some kind of automatic program that does it for him for inattentive doctors, but they figured out this guy cashed in a script on the 6th for 60 XANAX, and then he cashed in a script on the 7th for 120 diazepam or Valium. And that's a shitload of benzos. What is this guy doing, man? Is he setting up a small business or something? Is he a small businessman? Is he a junkie? What's he up to? You know. So I am positive now that that's the end of the XANAX from scripts that I'll get. But since Dr. Wacky Pants has been just such a loose cannon all this time, I've been stockpiling for a while. So I have between, mm, I would say between, I haven't counted, but between 90 and 110 half milligram pills of XANAX. So I'm not really sweating that all that much. And but yeah, a guy commented on one of my videos about I think Clonopin or clonazepam, or I don't know if they're the same thing or whatever. I don't really know much about that one, except for it's of equal potency um, to XANAX or Alprazolam, you know, or equal in powerfulness. And he had like a stockpile of 200, and he was still nervous about reducing it, because as we know, that's how bad withdrawal is. So, how I feel about that is like I'm a little surprised, frankly, that I got that phone call a half an hour ago. I'm a little shocked that they figured that out. But I think maybe the mistake that I made is I, I have one drugstore that I always go to with my doctor's scripts. So I was like, well, I'll take my XANAX script in there, but I'll take the volume script to a completely different drugstore. The problem is I forgot that I used that drugstore before, like years ago, when I was still going to Dr. Wacky Pants. In other words, I've filled his scripts at that uh, drugstore before. I didn't think about it. You know, not devious enough or whatever. I don't even know if that would have made a difference if like they have like a database type thing now where they're like, you know, whatever script you get filled, no matter if you got it filled in Timbuktu, is going to show up on a computer file, on your little file. I don't know how that works, but yeah, so that's the news there. As far as the Valium, um, big difference. I've only been taking it because I had the heart cardioversion thing last on the 5th, and then I got the script on the 3rd. I didn't get the actual script that I got on the 3rd filled until the 7th, so I've only been um, using it since the 8th. Today is the 12th, so 4 days, but I already can tell the difference. It wiped out all that edginess, you know. I'm already taking less Xanax. It wipes out the edginess. There's no like, um, because of the longer half life, there's no like me watching the clock and wondering how long. Right now I got up very early, so right now it's 1:45 p.m. for instance, and I took a quarter milligram of Xanax and a uh, 5 milligrams of Valium at 4:30. So that is 9 hours ago, and I wouldn't have known that if I didn't, look at the clock. And I was doing pretty badly there for a while, as far as my Xanax intake. So yeah, so I'm going to be off Xanax one way or another because I'm sure that my doctor thought I was up to no good. And like, how's this guy? Maybe he felt duped or tricked or whatever. He's like, who knows? I don't know what goes on in the guy's head. Yeah, he might not even like even be going there. He might be like, oh, okay. He's like, oh, that's fine. Or he could be like, wait a minute, why didn't he tell me about this ahead of time? He had the one script and was holding on to it until he got a script out of me. It depends how devious his mind is, I guess, whether he figured out what I was doing or not. But I wanted to make sure that if the Valium thing didn't go all that well, that I wouldn't be like trying to find other doctors or trying to score off the street or anything like that. And plus, I want to keep uh, some benzos around here for when I have dentist appointments and stuff like that. Because once that daily dependency is broken, I'm not I'm not addicted. It's not in my head. I don't think about it. I don't want it. I don't get any particular buzz out of it. It can sit on my shelf and it can stay there. I prefer, I enjoy, obviously, my own ability to articulate and my facility with language, and benzodiazepines impairs that. So I do not like that. Uh, I cannot dance. I cannot. My time in the 40 is measured by an hourglass, and I cannot sing. I cannot do a lot of things, but I'm very good with words, and I'm pretty damn good at thinking and logic. And benzos very bad for that. So I have no desire to ever get myself in this daily dependency mess again. So like I said, got like between 90 and 110 Xanax, and it's going to stay on the shelf unless I have a dentist appointment or something medically heinous to go to, or something like that. I will have no desire whatsoever to get back into this daily dependency thing. And I know there's probably people thinking, kindling, but I don't worry about that. A one-time shot, that's what it's for. That's like I was talking to my landlord about it, and he was like, oh, I think I had something like that once before I had an MRI. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be for. They probably gave you a Valium to mellow you out so you could lay in your MRI tube for however long. That's what it's for. It's like you're not supposed to take it. Like my psychiatric nurse guy said that 8 weeks was the limit as far as Xanax. I mostly hear between 2 and 4 weeks is the limit. You know, I don't see any scenario where I'm going to be like so stupid and so dumb that I'm going to go back and shoot my other foot and start taking the stuff on a weekly basis. It's like I don't. It's not going to happen. So I might not even run through all this. I'm sure I won't run through all this volume that I got, because I got a shitload of volume. I'm actually supposed to be taking more of it than I've been taking. They were telling me to start out, the directions on the bottle actually say take one tablet by mouth twice daily for the first 4 days, and one tablet is 10 milligrams. I've mostly been cutting them in half and taking 5 milligrams. And it says after 4 days, then you increase it to 2 tablets twice a day, and that would be 40 milligrams of volume a day. I'm looking forward to having my mind clear again, to where I don't have those pauses either, where I'm like, okay, what am I trying to say now? You know, and like I'm just looking forward to having my clear, sharp mind back. Not that I've ever particularly capitalized on it in any way but self amusement, but I just enjoy being able to be clever, because I don't have much else. So that would be my Benzo report. No more Xanax. I got a buttload stockpile though of Xanax, and I have mm, 240 10 milligram tablets of volume, and I have my willpower, which is considerable, and my ability to suffer. But here's something that I learned, and I might actually just make a short video about this that I figured out, is like, just call it "Don't Be a Tough Guy," because I'm old school macho type dude. So what I was trying to do was to be a tough guy and just suffer. And apparently that is not how you do it. You know, I was like stretching out doses as far as possible until my hands were shaking, and I was not being able to think clearly. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take it. You know, like sort of like holding your hand on a stove, and like as long as you can take it, you know, or under hot water. And that's not how you do it. Apparently, the way you do it is not to make yourself that uncomfortable, and keep a regular schedule going, and just slowly decrease what you're taking. Instead of like doing what I was doing, was like trying to stretch doses as far as possible, which frankly that could have worked, but life gets in the way. So you just don't want to be a tough guy with this stuff, because yeah, you just don't want to do it that way. And plus, I think it's dangerous. I talk to people on here that have been cold turkeyed, or that's been dropped off really fast, and it can do damage to you. At least that's what they tell me, is they feel like they've uh, had some damage done to them. And hopefully they'll recover um, in time, but in the meantime, they've got to suffer, you know. So don't, yeah, if I could go back in time and talk to myself, I'd be like, look, you're an idiot. Quit being a tough guy. This isn't a bar fight. This is a marathon. This is going to take time, and you need regular dosing, and you just need to lower it down, lower it down, and lower it down. That spacing it as far as possible, that was a dumbass move on my part. That was a, yeah, I shouldn't have tried it that way. I tried it that way because I didn't have a reliable source for volume. You know, I figured out really early, like, wow, this volume stuff is like, it stays in your system longer, and the withdrawal's not as bad. But if you can only score 10 or 15 5 milligram pills off the street, and then you run out, you just go right back into the same fix you were, and you don't have it no more. So you're back to abusing yourself with the Xanax. And then I was always worried about the Xanax running out, because I couldn't trust my doctor. So, you know, that was further incentive for me to do it wrong, which is like white knuckle it through whatever, even to the point where my heart would be skipping around and stuff. I'd be like, once my heart started skipping around and acting weird, I'd be like, well, it's time to take a dose. That would be the last straw. But before then, my hands would be shaking, and I would be foggy brained, and you know, I would be pretty much a mess. But once my heart started doing weird shit, that's when I would take my Xanax, because I was just afraid. You know, I just felt like I had a limited supply of it, and I was afraid to taper correctly, and that was part of it. And I also had, I kind of got forced into that mode of thinking because I got reduced 50% right off the bat. So, anyways, as usual, I'm talking much longer than necessary. This is at the 15-minute mark. While I got you here, I went to my pain management appointment yesterday. I got my bone scan, which I canceled like 4 times, and I never wanted to do in the first place. And the whole point of that bone scan was to diagnose me or re-diagnose me to make sure I have CRPS, so this doctor guy could treat me, to know what to do with me. That's what he was telling me anyway. So I kept having bad things happen in my life, and I didn't want to do the test anyway, and I was like, kept putting it off, and I knew it was stupid and useless, but I didn't know how stupid and useless it was, because I just expected the test to say, yes, you have CRPS. I go in there yesterday, and the doctor, he did not talk about it at all. I had to bring it up, toward the end of the visit, where I could feel like it was coming to a close. I said, wait a minute. I said, I thought this bone scan thing that I went through that took 5 hours, I thought it was to diagnose whether I had CRPS or not. And he said, well, the results were inconclusive. So it was pointless. I went through all that dread. I didn't like the idea of having a radioactive isotope injected in me. The actual test of like laying on a table and having like scanner boards around you and stuff, it actually took 2 hours, literally 2 hours. And I went through all that, and because they don't know what I have, I know what I have. I have CRPS. I know. But because it's not official, all that I got out of yesterday's appointment was he's going to put me on Neurontin, which I've already taken and which already hasn't worked. But he says he's just going to give me higher doses of it, and it's probably going to make me drowsy, and I'm probably not going to like it, and I'm probably just going to, I told him, like, well, I'll try it, but I told him to his face. So I said, listen, I don't take anything that makes me feel sick, uncomfortable, or bad in any way. I don't care who prescribes it. And he said, well, just let me know if you stop taking it. And another thing about that is when the nurse was walking me in there, she said, well, you had like a heart episode and arrhythmia on the 5th. And I said, yeah. And I said, what'd they give you for that? And I said, Eliquis, to thin my blood. She says, are you taking it? And I said, I took one and it made me feel lousy, so I stopped taking it. And she looked at me and she said something to the effect of, well, if that's a good plan if you want to die. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, are you sure that's the kind of thing you want to say to people walking into a place that are afflicted with chronic pain, to talk about suicide? I didn't say the suicide part, but I said, are you sure that's what you really want to say to somebody that's walking into a pain management center when they're dealing with chronic pain? Is to actually bring up death, but I didn't say that part of it. She goes, I'm just stating the facts. And I'm like, well, you know what? I talked to a policeman, and he told me there's 3 versions of everything. There's one person's version, there's the other person's versions, and then there's the reality of what actually happened, the so-called facts. And I said, since you're claiming you know the facts already, I'm not going to argue with you, honey. And then things kind of went south from there. And then she took my pulse and she said, your pulse is kind of high. It's like 109. Is that because I irritated you? And I said, that's probably the walk back here. But it could have been because she irritated me, because that really pisses me off. Like with the physical wreck that I am is from following medical advice for the most part. And to be second guessed constantly by medical people about the way I feel. Like, oh, you need to take this drug even though it makes you feel like shit. It's really aggravating to me. It's like, can you see? Do you have eyes? Can you see me at all? And you're not letting me make this is what happens when you do that passive patient thing, and you let them make all the decisions, and you don't put in your oar, and you don't have input into your own treatment. So I don't do that shit no more, man. I just tell them outright, like, you know, I was on a drug called Zymbalta, and uh, I called up. They asked me to call them and tell them how I was doing on it. And I said, here's how I'm doing. I took one of them pills, and I couldn't even drink water for almost 24 hours. I said it upset my stomach and made me feel sick and panicky to the point where I wasn't even drinking water. I was just sipping it to keep my mouth wet. And bitch has the nerve to tell me, well, the doctor says you have to let that build up in your system. And I did say this. I said, listen, I'd rather handle a live rattlesnake than take another one of those pills. That is not happening. And she's like, okay, I'll tell the doctor that. But yeah. Anyways, so another thing that happened as regards to the pain management thing is that this is so messed up. Supposedly, I had an MRI that told me that I had a Baker cyst behind my knee, and then that burst. The doctor that I went and saw yesterday at Pain Management, he's the guy that said, well, this ultrasound showed that you have a Baker cyst behind your knee, and it's not that big a deal. And I said, well, doesn't it need drained or something like that? And he goes like, no. And then I had an MRI later done on it at my insistence, and they said it burst. And then he was feeling my knee around, and he actually made me feel it. And he said, you can feel that, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, are you sure it burst? And I said, well, look, that's what the MRI said. And I said, well, what do you do? Do you drain it, or what do you do with it? And he goes like, oh, it's fine as long as it doesn't impair your mobility or flexibility. I just look at the guy. I don't even know what to say. It's like, I just staggered my ass in here on a cane with a 50-50 chance of me falling over. So, medical people, man, I'm telling you, I don't feel like I'm that bad of a communicator. I honestly feel that I'm actually pretty good at it. I just feel like they don't fucking listen, you know? And I wanted a straight answer as to whether I can actually walk on this knee, because I had my primary care provider told me stay off it as much as possible. This guy, he tells me I should walk on it. Because I asked him, like, I just want to know, can I work with it or not? Because my walking is getting worse and I'm getting weaker, and from staying off of it. And he goes, no, he goes, no, there's really no reason why you can't walk on it. So, at some point you just want to, just because maybe I shouldn't have made that old Archie Bunker, if you're old enough, you remember that from All in the Family, where he did fake Russian roulette. I feel like I'm playing Russian roulette when I'm going to these doctors, because is it an empty chamber? Is it a full chamber? Is it a yes? Is it a no? Should I walk on the leg? Should I not walk on the leg? So yesterday was very frustrating. I got it out of there, and I immediately smoked a cigarette. Mind you, I just had my heart shocked with the arrhythmia, and then somebody offered me uh, like a black and mild cigar where you don't inhale, and I smoked most of that too. I was just so damn aggravated, and it's like man, I go through all this stress with tests and doctors and get nothing done. You know, the only thing productive that I got done, besides conning my doctor into writing that 60 pill script for Xanax and getting a guy to prescribe this for me, these volume, is here's my schedule. Is this my schedule? Because I have a schedule worked out, which I'm not even going to stick to, because I can take less diazepam or Valium and be comfortable and not feel any symptoms. So, the only thing I really have gotten done by going to the doctor and trying to deal with my leg and trying to deal with my CRPS and trying to deal with chemical dependency. The only thing that I got done was I got more medications so that I can control my own fate, and I got a schedule to follow, and that is it. Cause and I was thinking about this, and I'm eligible for medical marijuana. Now I'm not a big, I quit smoking marijuana, but they have different strains and stuff for it. But they have like criteria in the state that I am in, and I meet most of the criteria for medical marijuana. I got a chronic pain disease, but the problem is it's undiagnosed. It was diagnosed in like 1987, and now because I've had this bone scan thing, they just say it's inconclusive. The doctor that I'm going to, he doesn't know if I have a pain generating disease, and because of my nature and non-weepiness, uh, he's I'm not going to be able to convince him the amount of pain that I'm in. But I would actually do that. I would get a script for medical marijuana, and but now I don't know if I can do it. I'm pretty sure that my primary care provider, especially since he caught me doing this little double switch thing with the two different benzos, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be cooperative with me at all. So yeah, I don't see him until January 2nd. I see an orthopedist on January 4th about my leg. So at least the first part about this was about benzos, and the rest of it is about my personal experiences with uh, doctors, and how maybe it's a compatibility issue. Maybe it's just like a bad marriage, like me and the medical community, you know. And I had a divorce for a while. Yeah, I didn't go to no doctor or nothing for like 20 years, and I was healthier than I am now. But I had started to have those I started to have those heart problems, and you got a heart problem and you got arrhythmia. You don't have no choice but to see doctors and go to hospitals and stuff. But I went like 20 years without anything but emergency room visits where I injured myself and cut my leg and shit. I was done. I was like, you know what? I'm done with the medical community. And yeah, the level of aggravation from yesterday was pretty severe, because it's the stress that you go through before those appointments and before those tests and everything. And the whole point of the test, well, I'm just being fucking redundant, and I hate when I do that. But the guy doesn't even seem like a bad guy and stuff like that. But it's like I was already on that Neurontin. I don't remember exactly if it made me drowsy. I think it made me a little bit drowsy, but they're gonna put me like on higher doses of it and try that. But as soon as it makes me drowsy and lazy, I'm done with it. I won't take it. I won't take it at all. I don't care. It's just supposed to be for neuropathic pain anyway. I'll just be in pain. I'd rather be in pain than be able to walk around and be functional and have my independence. It's just that my right leg is extremely painful, and I guess I gotta wait now until I go into my doctor to see what they're gonna do about my knee, and whether they want to drain that cyst or whatever the hell they want to do with it. Oh man. Anyways, as you can tell, I'm quite agitated and hyper, and I even have my soothing green tea here with me. So, but anyways, that is yeah. Like I said, I really don't have any fears about the no Xanax policy. That's over with. I don't really have any fears concerning that. I may be slightly retarded, if you're allowed to use that word these days, for thinking that way, but I got a good stockpile, and I can get by with taking very little Xanax if I have Valium, and I have a lot of Valium. So I think this psychiatric nurse dude, I think he'll prescribe me as much as I need. We're coming up on the 30-minute mark, but I noticed, like, on this little piece of paper that that has like a schedule out of the Ashton manual, that it has stages, and he started me out in stage 9, but each stage takes as long as 1 to 2 weeks, depending upon how you do during it. And like we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2 weeks. You know, we're talking about a month and a half. And in a month and a half, according to the schedule, I'm still going to be taking like 40 uh, milligrams of Valium a day. No XANAX, but 40 milligrams of Valium a day. So, you know, it's going to be still going to be a slow process. And I'm going to do what I always do, and that's not trust anybody with a medical degree. And I'm going to listen to my body and take as little diazepam as possible and stockpile as much of it as possible. I'm going to take as little XANAX as possible and stockpile as much of it as I possibly can. I'm going to handle this myself because the medical community and me, we do not get along all that well. And that is the end of my story for today. And hope you're having a good day and that things are going well for you. And I will talk to you next time. Adios, arrivederci, auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye.